Welcome to a busted play, an illegal use of hands to the face short.
The Indianapolis Colts have not made it far into their season at all to already be dealing with Carson Wentz injury issues. The Philadelphia Eagles know all too well how unfortunate Carson Wentz injury history has been, and to see him already suffering an injury on like basically what is the first day of camp for the Colts may as well be. I'm not sure how many days in they actually are, but it's so close to the beginning. It's ridiculous. He's barely practiced at all. And now, with that in mind, we know that he's basically going to sit out the entire preseason. If he chooses to get surgery on his foot that he injured, then it could be even longer than that. And I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be way further into the future. But let's say it extends it 4 weeks. That could be the worst. If it's not far into the future, let's say 4 weeks at the worst. Okay? Already, I think they're at a disadvantage if they enter the regular season without having Carson Wentz get any snaps for them as the starting quarterback in practice or in games, and then he jogs out their first game just going through the playbook based off his memory alone and not actually getting to work with his teammates at all. I think that would create a mess. But let's go for the even worse scenario of he's not even playing in those games, and either Jacob Eason or Sam Ehlinger. Actually, I'd be really interested to see what Sam Ehlinger can do in the NFL.
The gunslinger.
But here we go. Let me shoot off these first 4 games they've got for you. Okay? First game of the season, Seattle Seahawks. Second game of the season, Los Angeles Rams. Third game of the season, at the Tennessee Titans. Fourth game of the season, at Miami Dolphins. How winnable are any of those games if Carson Wentz isn't playing?
The Miami one is probably the only one that they have a chance in if Jacob Eason or Sam Ehlinger is playing in. The other ones, I don't think they have a chance if Carson Wentz is not the starting quarterback.
Now, what about, I mean, even with that being said, let's say everything goes well for him and he's back by the time the regular season starts. How does this affect them, and then how do those first 4 games of the season play out?
I think Carson Wentz, they can win the Miami game. Like, I have very little doubt that it's probably 85. Like, if I had to give out of 100, probably 85 the Miami game. Rest of them, I don't really see them winning. So it's very, like, the only difference is you get that 1 game swing with Miami.
Yeah, I just really forgot about how much the schedule makers really screwed over the Colts in terms of, like, early season challenges.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'll go over what I think here. I think no matter what, week 1 against Seattle, that's probably a close game. If Carson Wentz was fully ready for it, I would say that's a close matchup. If he's, like, underprepared and or not playing at all, I feel like that's an easy game for Seattle to win. Second week of the season, we were probably favoring Los Angeles anyways. I think we go Los Angeles there too. Tennessee, week 3. Then that game's still, like, Tennessee from my perspective. And then you're right, at Miami is the first game that that comes off the, like, table as maybe they could win it. But even then, if he gets pushed back to, like, not playing until week 2 or week 3, I still think Miami can win that game. And it doesn't get any easier week 5. They play at Baltimore. They have to go to week 6 to play an opponent that it really feels like they should be able to beat no matter what in Houston. And then even the following 2 weeks after that, they play San Francisco and Tennessee. That gets them through October. Okay, with that being said, I don't think we need to look further at the schedule from there because we've talked about the Colts in our Colts episode. If you haven't seen it, you can go back and find it. It's on the channel. Maybe about a month old, I'd say, random guess there, or a little older. But with Carson Wentz being gone early in the season, I feel like the effects of that could be felt until November. With all those games in mind, there's a chance that this team only enters November with 1 win. Think about how good this team was last year and, like, who I just said they've got to play in all that stretch. We like most of those teams except Houston and, like we said, Miami. Miami's the only other one that they may be able to pull out. I mean, how much does this basically screws the Colts season already before it's even started?
Yeah, and even in those November games, if I go and look at the Colts schedule here that I have written down, if I can find it real fast, uh, it it's not really favorable. Like they play Buffalo in November, they play Tampa Bay in November. It's tough. Like they could lose these games because Carson Wentz is not there, and then Carson Wentz comes back, and like you said, he's running plays from his knowledge, not from actually running them in practice because they rush him back out there because they need some shot in the arm to have a hope that they can make the playoffs. And he's met with two teams that are going to be competing to be in the Super Bowl that is sandwiched in with Jacksonville and Houston there. But it's still like it's not, like they're favorable in their division games of two teams that they should be better than.
Yeah.
And besides that, like just looking through the Seattle, that's going to be brutal. Like it's close game with Wentz. Without him, I don't see them having a chance in it. Rams, I don't think whoever the quarterback is there, that's going to be a loss. At the Titans, quarterback doesn't matter there. At Miami, Wentz there helps them win that game. Without him, I don't think they have a chance to win it. At Baltimore, I don't think it matters who's their quarterback there. Houston, I think that's winnable even with Eason or Ellinger that in there at QB. But still, you're having guys like that. Like Houston is a team to not really like just cast away. Like they're going to be bad, but it's not a team that you should really just cast to the side. And then San Fran and Tennessee there too. Like those first like 8 games, it's terrible. It's terrible for them. And like I'm thinking at most that's how many Wentz misses. Like at worst case scenario, he misses 8. You probably get 1 win then.
I don't think he'll miss 8. But, I mean, even if he misses, like I said, even if he misses 4, which is the number that I would say would be, like, worst case scenario from this, I mean, it's all just speculation right now. We don't know anything about his foot. But even if he misses 4, then to go on and play Baltimore, Houston, San Fran, and Tennessee, that's 3 losses. Like, it's not... And basically, the point I want to get to here is, like, they're... Like, even if this goes well, like I feel like the Seattle game becomes a loss week 1, basically guaranteed because he can't play the entire preseason or practice barely at all.
Yeah.
Los Angeles probably already was. Tennessee probably already was in my mind. So just seeing how this is going, I mean, we were already a little lower on the Colts than I think the average was. And now with this Carson Wentz news, I got to say, me looking at their schedule, it's not always just about how good is this team compared to the rest of the league. It's a lot. Got to reiterate this point over and over again. It's a lot about competition. This team, 7-10, really, with what we know now, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities at all. I really think 7-10 is probably where I would throw them. Maybe 8-9.
Yeah. And this is what we said in our Colts video too. We like the Colts as their roster looks good. It's just the competition that they're playing against is brutal. Their schedule is brutal for them. Like if they had a schedule like the Chiefs or like the Buccaneers where they're playing against some cupcake teams sprinkled in there, they could be like a maybe fighting to win the division, but I mean, even in my prediction for the Colts, not like to spoil that whole Colts video, but my prediction there, I had them winning 7 games with Wentz as the full-time starter the whole season. Without him there, I don't think it changes much. Like those 4 games, if he's there, still 4 L's. Like I had those being 4 L's with Wentz. Your tie though that you're predicting, that might get screwed up without him being there.
I completely forgot about it. I don't know why this Wentz news just made me completely forget about it. But yeah, no, that Colts at Dolphins game is probably completely screwed. Now I got to figure out a new game I'm going to say is going to tie. I don't know where I'm going to go with that, but now I'll just keep Colts Dolphins. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, that was what we harped on. Those first 5 games are going to be brutal for them. And if they're not going to have the quarterback for 4 of them, I don't think it changes much. I mean, it hurts them in the following games after that. I mean, that Houston game, you could chalk that up as an L. because you're sending out a quarterback that barely knows the play, or not barely knows it, but hasn't ran anything in it because he's coming off of surgery. And like, even if you're going against scrubs, that's still like really hard to ask a guy to do. Yeah, this really, I don't want to say puts the Colts season in jeopardy, because I think it kind of leaves them more where I had them at, just with how tough their
Just
schedule is.
guarantees it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be a wake up call for Colts fans earlier in the season, I guess. Like, even if Wentz isn't there, just geez, we have to accept that it's 4 losses rattled off right there.
Yeah, when they start the season 1-7, I have a feeling that they're gonna be like, okay, we know how this is gonna end.
Yeah.
All right, you all set?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.